Hello everyone, and welcome to 1v1 with Boss Rush Games. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Heath and Jamie Britt, active duty sailors in the United States Navy and hosts of the E-14 podcast. Joining me as co-host is LeRon Dawkins of Boss Rush Games Crossroads, the PlayStation podcast, a former sailor himself. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Thanks, guys, for having us.
Yeah, the E-14 podcast and I have been following each other for a few months now. They started their podcast, I believe, earlier this year, and I saw that they are also in Louisiana, so I got really excited because I don't know too many other people on Twitter who also live in Louisiana.
Right. It's true. You're right about that.
Yeah, it's a big city thing, I think.
It is. Only the famous people, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like the famous cities like New York and San Francisco. But no, LeRon's not. I don't know if you're in a big city. Is it considered a big city?
Technically, this area is. I'm in Newport News, so we're right on the other side of Norfolk. And basically, yeah, like we try to make ourselves all fancy and stuff. We call ourselves the Seven Cities because you've got Norfolk, you've got Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Portsmouth, Newport News, Hampton, Williamsburg, and then if you want to go extend it outside that range, you got Yorktown, you got Moyock in North Carolina, and all that stuff. So yeah, like we try to make ourselves seem like similar to like New York.
All I heard was Navy Station, Navy Station, Navy Station, Navy Station.
All I heard was naval mecca, a mecca of the Navy.
Yep, for real.
Wow.
Yeah. Besides the fact that basically every branch of the service is out here, like right here where I'm at in Newport News, I'm like 15, 20 minutes away from Langley. We got Langley Air Force Base. We got Fort Eustis. We've got actually the Marines are all on the naval bases and stuff like that. But like you know, with the Navy and the Marine Corps, you can't like swing a dead cat without hitting like a sailor or a jarhead. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, we signed their paychecks.
Yeah. Did you get the Space Force out there yet?
The who?
The Space Force?
NASA's got something going on out there because because NASA and Langley are doing something. So I'm not sure specifically because I think they're still trying to keep it under wraps and everything. But we've heard about proposals and stuff out here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But, yeah, well, that was number 45's thing. I'm not sure what number 46 is thinking about.
Yeah.
Wow. So Jamie and Heath, are y'all originally from Louisiana or are you here for work?
I am originally from Louisiana. Proud Louisianian. I'm from Alexandria area, Rapides Parish.
Nice.
Yes. She's not. She's a Texan.
Yeah, in case you couldn't tell from the way he talks, he is
from the great state of the boot.
Mm-hmm. And I'm from the even better state of Texas.
What part of Texas? I'm an Army brat, so I grew up in various places all over Texas.
South of Houston, about an hour. It's called Bowling, Texas. It's
yes.
Like literally. No, are you kidding me?
You ain't never heard of Bowling, Texas?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I still have family out in Texas.
We have one four-way stop and a red blinking light.
You know what? That sounds like a lot of towns out in Texas, though.
I thought I was from a shit town until I went to Jamie's hometown.
It's not shitty.
Oh.
It's just very small.
Well, when I say that, it's a term of endearment.
Yeah.
Okay, now, technically, I have not been or seen Bowling, Texas, but I used to work for UPS and I used to track packages and stuff like that. So Bowling, Texas, is a location that I know about.
Yeah.
They do have a post office, that's for sure.
Yep.
It's right next to where Jamie grew up.
Do y'all have a Walmart though? That's when you know you've made it.
Oh no.
No, I don't have a Walmart.
No. See, you have to drive to another town for a Walmart.
Yeah. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The joys of small town life. But all right, Jamie and Heath, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and what is the meaning behind the name of your podcast and what made you decide to start a podcast?
You want me to go with it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I actually, I'm a recruiter, I'm a Navy recruiter. I know we call ourselves the dark side. In fact, when I
LeBron knows.
enlisted into this community, I dressed like Darth Vader because I sold my soul to the dark side. But anyways, when the pandemic hit, we still had to meet our quotas and our goals and all of that stuff. And it was really, really difficult because everybody was in their house and they were shut in, and we still had to find a way to reach people. And so a few of my friends and I started a podcast called Outside the Uniform Podcast, where we feature like artists and comedians and singers and songwriters and different military members that are doing things outside of the uniform. And we were doing that for almost a whole year before Heath and I decided to start the podcast. And it was really, we were locked down. We couldn't go on dates. We couldn't go eat out. We couldn't go shopping. We couldn't do anything. And so one day I just looked at him and I said, hey, do you want to do a podcast? So I had all the equipment. And he said, yeah. And we've always joked, because we're both active duty. My rank is E6 and he's E8. And so we've always joked that we get paid as an E-14, which doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I did the math.
Yeah. You know, when Celeste first told me about you guys, I saw E-14 and I was like, okay, that's definitely a play on rank and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, let me think about this. And I was thinking a chief and a second class. I was wrong.
Wow. I know. Thank you. I look so young.
You do, actually. What's your secret?
I don't know. Stress is not my friend.
So for someone like me, I've never served in the military. What does E stand for, and how are the ranks?
Okay. Well, E is enlisted. So there's officers and there's enlisted, right? So the E1, E2, all the way to E9, that's enlisted. And then the rank 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 9. And then when you go to officers, it's O, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. It's officer. The O stands for officer. The E stands for enlisted.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. So what made you both decide to join? Well, actually, all three of you. What made you decide to join the Navy, and why that particular branch of the U.S. military?
Go ahead, LeBron. Go ahead.
I have the most generic story. Like, I'm an Army brat, so I grew up on military bases and stuff like that. My dad was a career soldier and stuff like that. So, you know, like once I got old enough and was in high school and stuff, I was in ROTC and stuff like that. And I just liked the idea of the uniform. Thought I was actually going to be putting on an Army uniform, but my dad talked to me, you know, because I feel like he was afraid that, you know, I was pretty good in school. I had decent grades. I was an A and B honor roll student, stuff like that. And I think my dad was afraid at the time, because I enlisted in '93. I think at the time he was afraid that I was going to get caught up in, well, you know, the war in the Middle East is now, well, it used to be a skirmish back when I was first getting in. And
Right.
now, you know, we're sitting there, we're trying to figure out, like, what's the best way and the most efficient way to pull our people out without destabilizing the region. But anyway, my dad was afraid that I was going to join the Army and either find myself in infantry or just be a glorified like tank mechanic or something like that. So he was like, okay, look, we got a couple other recruiting stations out here. Let's go take a look at what's going on out there. Let's see if we can get you into something a little more fitting for what you've been doing in school and all that stuff. And it boiled down to like the Air Force or the Navy. And the Navy had the better package, because with my grades and how I'd done in school and stuff, like they were trying to get me for the nuke program, which they did get me. They got me. Yeah. So honestly, that's my story. I only did my 6 years in, and then I got out, because ultimately what happened with me, growing up military and stuff, you know, like you back pre 90s, growing up military and stuff, like what I was always seeing and what I was always shown is like, you know, like a lot of times it's not who you know, but what you know. So, you know, go in, put the hard work in, things like that. I wound up getting in when the military was transitioning more to like, it felt very political for me, and it was very culture shock for me, and it took me a while to like wrap my head around the fact that like somebody who is a bookworm and stuff, like you gotta know how to hobnob and things like that, but also still do your job, stuff like that. So I just had a hard time acclimating. There are some days when I feel like if I join another branch of service, it may have worked out a little differently, but chances are with the way the military just shifted for me at the time when I was coming in, it just wasn't a good fit for me anymore. So that's why I only wound up doing 6 years.
Wow. Well, what about you guys, Heath and Jamie? Oh no, did they freeze up a little bit?
I think they froze.
Oh no. That happens sometimes.
Let's see if we can get them. Well, do you want to wait for a second?
Yeah, I'll wait a little bit, and I can restart the call if I need to. They might be going on about a lot of great stories, and we can't.
Yeah, that's funny because I was like, well, I did my 6 years and got out, and I was like, uh-oh, did I?
No,
I think I just rubbed them the wrong way.
No, I think you're fine.
No, as servicemen, we kind of get in our ways about like how people like view the military and stuff like that. Like I definitely enjoyed my time in. It was just that I just never acclimated fast enough to the change of views with the military. There was a scandal going on. I joined right after a scandal had happened called the Tailhook scandal, where basically it was a bunch of higher enlisted and officers. Like there's just rampant sexual harassment going around and stuff like that. And that's what caused the Secretary of the Navy, the Secretary of Defense, and the chiefs of staff to say, hey, we need to buckle down on this because like we got more and more women in the military now. This stuff can't happen. Yeah, so that was the other thing too. As a kid who was in high school in ROTC, there's boys and girls everywhere. We learned that stuff. While in ROTC, we learned we learned etiquette. Respect the other genders and stuff like that. But
so
like
a lot of older people maybe who weren't.
Yeah.
We just heard from LeRon Dawkins about his time in the Navy. And Heath and Jamie, what about y'all? What made you decide to join the Navy? Why that branch out of the other branches?
Well, I actually, I went to college because both of my parents were educators, and that's what you do after high school. You go to college. So I went to Sam Houston State in Huntsville, Texas, and graduated with a criminal justice degree. But I tell the kids this all the time. I'm like, do not get in the clutches of a criminal justice degree because it is the most worthless degree on the other side of college that you could ever think about, because without the job experience, it just doesn't correlate to anything. And so my sister was in high school at the time, and she actually was talking to a Navy recruiter, and my dad was a Marine. So with my sister talking to the Navy recruiter, I just was like, let me talk to him, and so he showed me this video about let the bodies hit the floor and like all these fast boats driving around, and I was like, sure, sign me up. What's the first thing out of here? And he signed me up for with a college degree for undesignated seaman, which was back in the day. And I was like, cool, I'm out of here. Yeah.
You had a college degree and they didn't even talk to you about OCS?
Nope.
Man, she got screwed.
So I went to MEPS, and I'm signing my undesignated seaman paperwork, and that some guy comes up, some guy, I say some guy, he was probably like a chief or senior chief or officer or something. He's like, you didn't want to do officer? I was like, yeah, I'll listen to what you got to say. And he was like, well, it's too late now. You already enlisted. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I went to boot camp about a month later, and I had a son at the time, and he needed health insurance and stability and that sort of stuff. So that was really my driving force, plus the fact that nobody wanted to hire me with the criminal justice degree and my job experience from Wendy's. So I set off to Great Lakes, Illinois, and then I was like, what is an undesignated seaman? And they said, well, you're going to go out there and do whatever they ask you to do. You know, the Navy has revamped this program now, but back in the day, it was literally just chip and paint and I don't know, making coffee, scrubbing floors.
You're a bosun mate.
No. So
No,
I was like, I don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, undesignated means like they just put you wherever they want, and then you just do every job.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so they give this, like, you know, if someone stubs their toe in boot camp or they can't graduate, they have all these different jobs that are available, and they allow you this one chance to fit into this job. And so I was like, give me something, anything. I'll take anything. I don't want to chip paint. And so they were like, how about air traffic control? And I was like, well, are those the ones with the flags? And they were like, here, read this paragraph. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I thought I was going to be doing like the signal flags. Anyway, air traffic control is what I ended up enlisting as, or getting out of boot camp and going to A school for. So it turned out I went for a great job. I wouldn't recommend going the way I went, but it worked out for me.
Yeah, like as soon as you said air traffic control, I was like, oh wow, you got like a cush one.
Yeah, well, it worked out for me. I don't recommend anybody else trying my approach to enlistment.
What about you, Heath?
Well, I joined a few years after LeRon did. I joined in '96. So I went in. I was married previously, and my wife at the time was pregnant. I needed health insurance. I was sweating because I had a high school degree. I did not have a college degree. I had a high school diploma, and it was slim pickings for jobs. And you're lucky to get a job, and then you're even luckier if it comes with health insurance, which most of them didn't back then. So I went to the recruiting office. I talked to the Navy. I talked to the Marine Corps. I tried to talk to the Air Force. I couldn't find them. Then I talked to the Marine Corps, said, you could be a tank mechanic. I'm like, I ain't down with that. I'm good. And then I went to the Navy, and I had decent ASVAB scores, the score you take so they can put you in a job, right, depending on how good you did. And they said, well, look at this, ET, electronics technician. I said, tell me about it. He goes, well, air-conditioned spaces. I said, sold. So, because I've been I'm from Central Louisiana, the land of all the nurseries, the plant nurseries. That was my summer jobs. And I was ready for some air conditioning. I didn't want to, I just know it's hot, and I like to be in air conditioning.
No, they offered him nuke.
They offered me nuke, but
tell LeRon what you did.
I was like, I'm from Central Louisiana. Just in my defense, I said, no, I ain't having a third arm grow out of me. I'm good, thanks. Keep that shit.
You know what? No, I thought about that too when they were talking to me. Like if you ever talked to my mom, like she says, like I gave her like a weird look when they said going nuclear, because I was like, wait, I know what that means. That means I'm not gonna have kids like somewhere
right.
in my life.
It's gonna be green.
I thought I was gonna grow an arm out of one of my eye sockets. I told them to keep that shit. They can have it. I'll take ET. Which
shoot. If I'm not mistaken, I think my sign-in bonus for nuke was like 33,000 after the initial. By the time I come out of school, like I would have got the full sign-on bonus.
Yeah, but he told him to keep that shit.
Keep that shit. I said no money's worth my health. I was taking a stand. Against what, I don't know, but I was taking a stand.
So what is it about the Navy that it sounds like you were kind of drawn to it for, the health insurance reasons and everything, and LeRon heard from the experience from his dad, but... Yeah,
I got peer pressured by my dad to right. Not be like him.
Exactly. He's in the Army, I get it. I'm joking.
I always wonder what makes people decide to join different branches of the military. The closest I have to family and military is my cousin's husband is in the Coast Guard, and he's going to be retiring next February with either 19 or 20 years.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
He's been doing it. He's been doing it for a long time. I was like, are you sure you don't want to go till you're about 60? He goes, no, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Honestly, I'd stay in until I'm 60 if I could, but they have something called higher tenure.
Yeah.
So
Really?
at E8, you can do 26 years. And if I don't make E9, I'll retire in October at 26. And if I do pick up 9, I'll retire at 30 years. So 4 years after that. So October of 2020, whatever, 25, 26.
Yeah, but if he keeps falling on all his runs, I don't know if
Yeah,
the
I'm not
Navy
gonna.
want to keep him anyway.
Yeah, I've had some issues. Yeah, I can't even walk straight.
That's
So
the rum.
is it normal for people to stay like quote unquote a regular job where they work 30 plus years and then they retire, or is LeRon's track more common?
I think it just really depends on the person. For us, it's like I always say this: life's a game, right? School's a game. If you figure out how to play the game and you figure out how to do it well, it becomes easy.
Yeah.
And so for us, we figured out how to when to do the battle and when to do the war. You know, we figured out how to maneuver ourselves in this game called the Navy, and for us, we call it a gravy train. I was like, don't get out until they make you get out, because the money is good and it's easy. You show up, you do what they say, you wear what they say, and you don't make waves.
You know, I was going to get out in my last command, but then I picked up senior chief, and then I was like, or E8, and then I was like, well, I got to give back the Navy. They selected me. I got to give it back to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit, and I was like, yeah, man, all these people getting fired, getting laid off. I was so happy to be in the military. I was so happy. I mean, it was actually a little harder because we were doing more with less because they have the minimal manning and different shifts due to COVID and coming in contact. You know, they had to do their mitigation for health reasons, but at least I was getting paid the 1st and the 15th. So I was pretty happy about that. And it opened my eyes. If I can stay here where I know I'm gonna get a paycheck, you know, and do, you know, and it's a job I still enjoy doing, I'm gonna keep doing it if I can, you know.
So what is a day in the life like for an active duty sailor? Is it Monday through Friday? Is it weekends?
Oh, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat.
Go ahead, LeRon.
Yeah, go ahead. You go
I want to
first.
hear what you have to say.
Okay. Well, by trade, the military is a 24/7 job. Now that I've said that, though, it doesn't mean that, you know, like you're always on base or on your command or whatnot, you know, every day, every minute of the week and all that stuff. But basically, like it's almost like a 9 to 5, depending on your division or what you're in. But it's also like the working world. Like there are shifts as well. So you got first, second, third shift, and so on and so forth, like that. Now, where they get you though is this little thing called duty section. Duty section means no matter what day of the week it is, like, you know, like if it's your duty section, you're on the, well, in the Navy, you're on the command for an entire 24-hour rotation. And guess what? If your 24-hour rotation ends on a weekday, technically you still have to show up to work. You might get a little bit of time to yourself, you know, like rest or whatnot, but you're there. And it doesn't matter if it's the weekday, if it's a holiday, if it's the weekend. Duty section will get you in there. And some people, and the command I was on, because I served on a ship called the USS Wasp. The command I was on, we had typically what's called 4-section duty, which means that every 4 days you're on your 24-hour shift. But the Wasp went from 6-section duty to 3-section duty to 4-section duty, and you know there was no medium point, you know, stuff like that. So but yeah, like it honestly is like, depending on what you're doing, like it honestly is like basically like some people have desk jobs, some people have desk jobs, some people have like mechanical engineering jobs, stuff like that. As a nuke, I was considered an engineer. And there's other things in between, like you've got pilots, you've got all sorts of stuff. You've got some pretty interesting jobs. Like I didn't know Navy had meteorologists before I signed up. You know, I didn't know they had stuff like that. You know, so yeah, there's a vocation for almost everybody in any aptitude. You just gotta make sure you know what you're getting into when you sign up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Max.
Well, I did my 6 years and I got out, and I went into the reserves and then came back in just recently on active duty. But my 6 years was on a shore command, which is primarily where air traffic control earns its meat and potatoes, because when you go out to sea as an air traffic controller, if the planes aren't flying, you're not working, quote unquote. But on shore duty, it is every day, and we actually follow FAA rules. So we could only work, so many hours per day before we had to have ample amount of time for crew rest.
They
Because
had to get a nap.
yeah, well, we were just the same as pilots. We had to do that same thing that the FAA mandated. So ours was usually a 7 to 3 or a 3 to 11. And then some other places had 11 to 7. We didn't, but 7 to 3, 3 to 11. And 1 week you do 7 to 3, 7 to 3, 7 to 3, and then the next week 3 to 11. And you pick up the second half of it. So that's what we did on shore duty. But it was hard work. It wasn't the same as our counterparts who were controlling out to sea. So.
Yeah, so I've been on shore duty. I've been on ships. My first ship was a Lincoln, which wasn't too bad. We were in 8-section duty until we went and deployed. Then we'd be on 4-section duty in foreign ports. But the thing what really got hard is when I made chief and I became a section leader. Then you pull into Thailand, and you're with Marines on board.
I already know where this is going.
I didn't sleep. I never slept. I was up because I would try to catch a nap, when I could. And I wasn't standing. I might have even stood a watch in there because we were so undermanned. I might throw in a 4-hour watch here as section leader, and I'd have my buddy take section leader while I was on watch. But I tell you, about midnight till about 3 a.m, it was like Times Square
mayhem.
People coming in and coming out, drunks everywhere because you're in Thailand. You can get drunk on $20. Mm-hmm. And people are coming in hammered drunk and they can't climb up the brow. Then I piggyback people up the stairwell to get to medical. I mean, it's crazy. I'm a 35-year-old man piggybacking some 20-year-old kid. 22. He was of age. He might have been 22, 23. But really, I never slept. And then I would come back. That was at midnight. Then I'd come back at 1. Then I'd come back at 2 because each pay grade had different time frames they had to be in by. So if you're a certain rank, you had to be in at midnight. Certain rank, you had to be in at 1 or 2, and then 3 or 4 or whatever. So yeah, I did that all night.
Yeah, Marines don't know how to act.
That is the truth. That's the truth.
Oh my goodness, that was the hardest. But that was in 3-section duty. But it wasn't. I mean, it's almost like you become institutionalized because you get used to it. Mm-hmm. Right? Y'all can account for that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
You get used to it. So when you go to shore duty, you're standing duty once a month. You're like, wow, this is freaking great. Once a month I have duty, and then it's not that duty. You're not that bad a duty. You're just kind of taking, driving around base.
Or walking the building.
Walking the buildings. It's really easy compared to dealing with, drunk ass sailors or Marines and having to babysit them.
Yeah.
I remember I dropped this sailor, I can't remember sailor Marine. I dropped him off in medical. And I was like, look, in the HM, the corpsman, the doc was like, again? I was like, well, I don't want to put them in the rack. I'm afraid they might, I don't know what they're going to do. So I wouldn't make the doc watch them. I would find a sober, person that works with them. Hey, you need to go home duty. You need to go sit with these guys. And then I would check on them. Then I was still checking on them. So I wasn't sleeping. I was still checking on them, make sure, they were good to go. Man, but you know what? It's all part of learning. It was fun. It was memories you make and things you learned along the way. I wouldn't change it.
Wow. So is life a little bit more, quote unquote, civilian-like now? So are you able to clock out and just relax now and enjoy your weekends?
Well, I can, right? I'm at a command that they get weekends off. I'm pretty blessed to be where I'm at. This is considered sea duty for me, and I might go on a conference here and there every once in a while in San Diego or something before COVID, but most of the time I'm at home. Jamie, on the other hand,
yeah, I'm in the trenches every day.
She is crawling under barbed wire every day. It's terrible.
Recruiters, this is what we would consider arduous duty. So it is long hours, and the same as working at, if you were to be at boot camp and pushing people through boot camp. It's considered arduous duty. And so it could be 5 to 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week. And your phone never shuts off. And I have 41 future sailors who I'm preparing for boot camp. So, if they bump their head, I got to know about it. If they get a speeding ticket, I have to know about it. So my phone's constantly going off. So this is a tough duty. It's rewarding, but it is. No, I can't just sit back and relax.
In her defense, I was going to say that even when you're dealing, and LeRon, you can attest to this, even as a junior sailors have a code they live by. They do live a code. Most of them, they have the military code they live by. She's dealing with young kids that are not in the military.
Oh, yeah.
So no code. Your hope mommy and daddy took care of it when they were young, but odds are they probably didn't. And she's dealing with that, 40 of them or so. And I couldn't do it. I would lose my damn mind.
So does it feel like babysitting sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I just treat them like my own kids. I'm like, what did you do? You go take care of this ticket right now. That sort of stuff.
I'm having flashbacks because when Jamie said about the whole like 20 calling them all the time, things like that, and bump their head and all that stuff. I remember my recruiter was like, "Hey, if anything happens to you, you call me. Hey, if this happens, call me. If you get a speeding ticket, call me." I'm having flashbacks of it all.
Yeah.
and that was over 20 years ago.
Well, why don't you tell us what kind of content your podcast has? Do you talk about the things we're discussing right now, or is it a little bit different? I've listened to some of the episodes, but for listeners listening to this interview who are new to your podcast, what can they expect?
So when we started out, we didn't really have a direction. We just thought we're going to talk about the Navy and we're going to use these nautical terms and try to bring them into everyday life and, make them relatable to just anybody that was listening. We didn't really focus in. So we did a couple of episodes, like if we'd use nautical terms like ballasting your ship, like in life, keeping it level and not letting it list side to side. And we did a couple of episodes like that. And then we were like, well, the majority of our listeners are Navy. And so we kind of were like, why don't we amplify our sailor's voice? And we say smoke pit topics because let's say like you're working at your job or doing whatever you're doing in your shop, turning wrenches or controlling aircraft. And there is only one point in time where you kind of get a break, and that is when you go to smoke. And so you have to go out to the smoke pit, and a lot of sailors are gathered around there, and that's their time to coke and joke and just relax and talk about whatever's on their mind. And so we wanted that feel for the podcast. We wanted what the sailors were, mad about or happy about or just whatever was on their mind. We wanted to bring that to life and amplify that because we feel that leadership, we feel that anybody that's in the Navy needs to hear what's on the sailor's mind. And we started doing series.
Yep. Started with, the first one was Hold Fast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, you go
we
ahead.
did Hold Fast through a few things. Adversity. We had a buddy of mine. He's a E-8 boat guy. We call him. There's NSW, Naval Special Warfare. And he went through his career and how he held fast. Hold fast means to don't let go. Don't stop what you're doing. In the Army, they call it drive on. Don't stop. No matter how hard it gets, keep your head forward and keep, making forward progress. So we had him on there, and he talked about his adversity through his career and how he ended up doing well. And now he's getting ready to retire with 20 plus years in, did well for himself. And then we did one, Hold Fast Through Love, with a Master Chief that Jamie, he's in Memphis, but he's a recruiter, Navy recruiter. He's in actually Millington. And we did one, Hold Fast Through Love, about putting your family first.
Yeah.
But, keep the ones, it ain't about what you're doing now. It's about how many people show up to your funeral that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then hold fast. We did a little bonus hold fast through the storm because honestly, I had a stroke back in February.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I found out I was in great shape. I worked out hard, but it was a blood disorder. I didn't know I had a clotting disorder that was hereditary that I didn't know I had until I had the stroke. So we hold fast through the storm we talked about that. And then the last one was hold fast to your goals.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Navy NASCAR driver, Matt Perry.
Yeah.
He's a Navy
He's a recruiter, and he also drives for NASCAR.
Drives for NASCAR. We heard about his story. He was in a bad wreck and still came back and still racing today. So, and then we started what was our second one?
Second series was the stigma.
To hell with the stigma. Yeah. As y'all know.
Mental health.
Because
awareness.
It was May. It seems like we've done a lot in a short time. Like we started like really.
Well, a lot of times, and then that series is really important to us. We did 4 parts with that, and we kind of broke it down. We had one chief that came on, and he talks about having suicidal ideations and that sort of stuff, but getting help while he was in the military, which is a stigma.
Right.
We think we can't get help, but he was able to get help and stay in the Navy and continue to deploy and continue to thrive.
Right.
And so that was really important to us to get out there and let people know you can get help. And then we had a doc come on, a Navy doc, and he broke it down. Why is this happening to us? What are these causes? What is...
He broke it down inside the way your brain works, but made it so we could understand.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like he was talking big words. He was talking, but he was breaking it down to layman's terms. So everybody who heard could understand kind of where it's coming from. And then we also did a couple collabs with a couple other podcasts, but they're all ex-vets. They're all vets, ex-military.
Drive On podcast and Charlie Mike.
And they both struggle with PTSD, and we kind of heard their story and what they did to get help. And we did a couple we did Florida Men collaboration with the Florida Men on Florida Man, which just a little, how did they, because they're pretty big now. We talked about how they started, and we just a little bit of everything. But I like our series though. Our series are more geared toward almost like it's like stuff that we all deal with.
We do our series, and then in between that, we like to do things like this where we connect with other veterans and hear their stories and stuff like that. So that, I guess, in so many words, that's the feel for our podcast.
Right.
The mental health one, To Hell with the Stigma, really stood out to me because it blows my mind how far we've come. When I think about what veterans from World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and probably, I bet Vietnam probably really highlighted that. I would imagine.
Our friend Ian from the Why Whiskey podcast was telling us about General Sherman, and he was struggling. He was writing letters home in silence, basically struggling with mental health, but he couldn't tell anybody. So he was just writing letters home to his wife.
You think about General Sherman, that was Civil War.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the mental health has always been there and surrounded the military. It's just that now we're trying to normalize speaking about it because we've all struggled in silence for so long because we didn't want to get help or to get labeled or to be non-deployable or to have any extra burden fall on our brothers and sisters. That's huge.
Definitely. That's how I was. Cause I remember really rocking my head a couple times hard, like where I drew blood like Jamie did, probably even worse what Jamie did the other day, and just dealing with it because I had stuff to do. I didn't have time, and there's a lot of people that deal with real stuff, real PTSD, real depression, that they were scared to get help because they didn't want to, like Jamie said, their work has to fall on somebody.
Yeah.
And they don't want it to fall on somebody because they feel like they let that person down. And great. Yeah. That's good for you. And you might make rank and you might do really well in the military, but at the end of the day, you got to retire eventually. Then you're going to put all that on your family.
Yeah, it'll follow you home quickly. I have a really close friend. Like he's my best friend in the world, and he did one solid enlistment in the Army, but during that time that he was in the Army for that one enlistment, he did 2.5 back-to-back tours in the Middle East.
Wow.
If he winds up listening to this, I hope he'll forgive me. He came back in bad shape. Like when I want to say like 2 or 3 months before he was getting ready to basically get out. He realized something was wrong with him, and so he immediately went and checked himself into to a facility, so they could watch him and try to help him figure things out and stuff like that. But he didn't get enough help in the time that he had left and stuff like that, and it followed him to the point where it took a lot of his friends and family at home to help him get through this stuff and things like that. And he was one of the ones that realized he needed help and actually went out and got it. But there's people like back when I was in, there was a couple guys in my division. They definitely had suicidal thoughts and stuff like that, and they fought it because we saw what happened if someone winds up getting on report that says, hey, this person has suicidal ideation and stuff like that. It usually didn't go anywhere positive, and back when I was in, if anything, sometimes having the word get out that they are suicidal put them in a tailspin even worse and things like that.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the sorry thing is that you fight it and fight it and fight it just like your friend, and then at the end of your career you try to get help, and then the VA's like, no, you can't just bring this up at the end. That you just want our money, and that's not the case. But that's why we did that series, because we want people to understand that we just don't want the VA's money at the end, but people have been fighting it throughout their 20 years, and they finally come to the end where they can get help, or they feel like they can get help, and then that's when the trouble comes. They can't get the help they need.
I mean, I'd love it to see where, if you like LeRon, if you break your arm, people can see, hey, you broke your damn arm. They can see the cast on you. I want it to be like when somebody says, look, I got something wrong with my head, right? Something wrong with my emotion, whatever it is. And it gets treated like a broken arm. Yeah. People be like, okay, dude, let's help you out. Let's time out, take a knee.
It's so recently I fell down, I got a concussion. I think we spoke about this before the show, right? He fell down and got stitches. His arm is bandaged up. But I was, internally kind of off balance, and my thoughts were slow, and people were looking at me like, what is your deal? But for Heath, they wouldn't ask him to carry a box. But for me, they'd be like, hey, just, telework from home or whatever it may be, because they can't see the injury.
And the thing about a concussion, if you look at a computer, that's not good for your concussion. It's like teleworking is the worst thing you could do if you have a concussion. But I don't blame anybody. It is what it is. I mean, we're still in that mind frame. Right. We just it's hard to get out of that. Mm-hmm. It's years and years of brushing that crap to the side and not worrying about it until the last minute. And it takes time, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, we come from a society, not even just the military, but as just human beings, we come from a society where the last thing you want people to know is that something's not right with your head and stuff like that. So people carry this stuff, you just get these situations where it's like, hey, the guy next to me with this gun and everything, he's not been acting right and stuff, and I don't know how I feel about this.
Or after he's done shot up people, hey, he was acting weird earlier this month.
We didn't see the signs. There's no signs. You just got to pay attention, because I bet those people have said something, hey, I just don't feel right, or this may be going on, and I'm feeling this way. And then somebody said, suck it up. Rub some dirt in it.
Suck it up, shake it off. All that typical stuff. Shoot, man up is always been a big thing. Hey, I'm starting to feel depressed about a couple of things that have been going on in my life, and next thing you know, at least two or three other sailors no, you just need to man up and go do your job and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. And I was that guy. I was that guy. Not until recently, I was like, well, that person, I did the same thing as that person. I don't know why he or she's jacked up. I was fine, or
Yeah.
well, what? I was that guy. I mean, I'll be admitted. Then I had that stroke. And then after my stroke, I wasn't right. I had changed, and I'm pissed off all the time. I have some anxiety. I went to the hospital 2 days after they released me because I thought I was having another stroke, and I wasn't, but it was just in my head.
Mhm.
A lot of things changed about me.
Mhm.
And I realized, look, if this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody.
That's the thing we learned through this series is that you never know what's going on with that person, that individual. And that's what the doc broke down to us. He said, let's say you come to work and I say, take out the trash, and you just lose it. And I'm like, geez, all I asked was to take out the trash. But I didn't know that your child was sick and that you're running on hard times with money and that your mother's been not talking to you for months at a time. I didn't know that your dad got locked up and all of this stuff. And I just told you to take out the trash and you lost it. And that's what he said is with mental health. You never know what straw is going to break the camel's back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does the Navy have a lot of resources now? Do the armed forces have better outlets for people?
Yes, so we are, I would say from the time that LeRon joined and Heath joined and even I joined back in 2005, we have come a long
Leaps
way.
and bounds.
Yes.
Leaps and bounds. We have resources like Military One Source that you could just call and speak to a counselor, and it's not on the record, and you don't have to worry about it being in your, your medical record or anything like that, and you can just help to talk things out. And then we've got Fleet and Family Support Center, who's got licensed social workers and counselors on staff. We've got our chaplain corps, who, as long as you're not a harm to yourself or anything like that, everything is confidential. And a lot of people, they say, oh, chaplains, that's religion. But they're trained to be counselors as well. So they can leave religion out of it and just talk to you as the individual.
They just wear many hats, and
Yeah.
religion is one of them. Counselor is one of them, or both. If you want to combine, they can do both. They're a great resource.
That is awesome. I'm really glad to hear that because I think, wasn't PTSD called shell shock for many years?
I think so. I think that's the same thing.
Yeah.
It was,
I think so. Yeah. And that's what they called it. But it was like when they were like, oh, he's just shell shocked. But it's actually a big freaking deal.
No, there's some, like, their brain has been miswired or rewired, I should say.
Right.
Their brain's been rewired by their situations, by the stuff that they were in. And the sad part is, like, for example, for my friend that did his tours in Iraq, like, they were, by the time he was in the army and stuff, like, they were doing 8-month stints out there. Like, it used to, like, initially, back when I was in, like for ground troops, it used to be like 5 months. And eventually we got to like 8 months now. And so basically, like, you just got to think, in that compact amount of time, depending on where you're at and what you're doing, you might see some stuff that you've never seen before in your entire life. And my friend was not a guy who had just gotten out of high school and just joined the military. Like, he had been in college, he'd been out of college for a few years and stuff like that. He graduated and all that stuff. He actually had regular jobs. And then one day he was like, you know what, I want to swear the oath and you serve my country and stuff like that. So he'd lived his life before he decided to join. And then just imagine, like, in that compact amount of time, because if he'd only done one tour out there, like, that probably would have been the most stuff he had seen. He would have come back to the States and things like that, but he'd been out there 3 times basically in a 4-year enlistment. So yeah, I mean, then that's just one story. Like, there's soldiers all over the place, and soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and stuff. They're all over the place, and they've seen stuff, and they never learned how to process it, or not even so much process it. They never even learned, because everybody knows how to compartmentalize stuff. Because, like, at the end of the day, you gotta make sure you get the job done, you come home safe, and things like that. They just never learned how to, like, diffuse all that they've taken in and stuff like that, because we compartmentalize like crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, big time, buddy.
Someone told me those boxes eventually start to crumble, or the tops start to erupt, and you're like, I just want to put this back in the box, but the box won't shut.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, even after a normal deployment where nothing goes wrong, right? Say you do a normal deployment to the Persian Gulf or wherever you do on the ship. I'm gonna use ship because that's what I know best. And you come back 6 months later, you even that is crazy when you come back home and then you're like in this big world where you're not confined to this 500 to 1,000-foot ship. And, with port visits here and there, put out here and there, it almost blew my mind the first time I did it. I was like, I come back and I'm like, oh, this world is so busy. It's so busy. Oh, so many cars. And it took me a week to recalibrate. But then you compound that with get shot at or loss of a friend in front of you, for the guys.
Or just waiting for something to happen.
Or just on high alert for so long.
Waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
I like the way LeRon said it. Their brains get rewired. And the best way that I could put that into layman's or, into terms is, let's say you have to start waking up at 4:30 a.m., right? That's a crazy time to wake up. And you got to wake up and go to the gym at 4:30 a.m. The first week or so is hard. The second week, that's hard. After 8 months of you waking up at 4:30 to go to the gym, and then you try to sleep in, you can't because you've woken up at 4:30 to go to the gym for so long, right?
You're rewired.
You're rewired, and that's exactly what that made me think of, and that's exactly how deployments feel. You're rewired, and then you try to go back to what we call normal, and you just can't.
By the time I finished my second deployment on ships, like when I came home to my apartment, I realized it was way too quiet.
Oh yeah.
It was way too quiet. I was used to fan noise. I was used to hearing other people talking and stuff. I immediately I would be like, okay, I got an extra room. I need to find a roommate or something. I learned how to fall asleep with the TV on at night and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, after my first deployment with the Carrier, even when we dropped off the air wing, we're just ship's crew sailing back to Everett, Washington. It was so quiet. It was eerie.
Yes.
But we still had 3,000 people on board. It's not like it was not a lot of people. We still had 3,000 people on board, but it seemed quiet and it was weird. Mm-hmm. And then you get back to your house, it's really weird.
Wow. So in addition to the mental health aspects and the struggles with military active duty veterans, what are some other challenges that civilians may not realize that military men and women go through?
Go ahead, LeBron. I'm sorry.
The one thing I was gonna say is that basically, as an enlisted person, we sometimes we immediately try to look for things of authority. Basically, for me, because I was lower enlisted, so for me, anybody in the civilian world that had some bit of authority to them, it was automatically a sir or a ma'am for me, things like that. It took a while, it even off-put me sometimes, because when people found out that I was either active duty back then when I was in, or I'm a veteran now, I'll always get thank you for your service and stuff, and it always throws me off because for me, I always felt like I knew as a child I was going to join the military and stuff like that. So, thanking me for my service is always it's almost like that compliment that you never think you deserve and things like that. So yeah, that's one adjustment that I had to deal with, and that's just one aspect of being a junior enlisted, Yeah,
definitely. I get that because I appreciate people saying that to me. But I'm like, well, I still get paid pretty good money for what I do. It's not like I'm doing it for free. You get paid. You get paid to be a doctor and save lives or whatever. But I mean, I do appreciate it. I do. But I try to be humble as possible. And I guess it's my humility. We're look, I thank you, but I'm thinking I do get paid pretty good money to do this. It's not like I'm doing it for free. There's some countries out there that I knew when we went to Montenegro, which is Western Europe, and the CO of a ship, so the commanding officer's ship, made as much as one of our American E-3s in Montenegro. So we get paid pretty good for being in the military. I mean, I think a civilian of my counterpart gets paid more, but I bet he don't have the job satisfaction I have.
Agreed. Agreed.
Right. Which says a lot. So
I would say that we get used to life funny thing, we get used to life at a very fast pace. So if you ask us to wait 45 minutes to go in and eat at a restaurant, that is like the worst thing in the world. No, I'll just go get Wendy's. I'd rather just go get Wendy's.
You might as well have told me like the food to be ready tomorrow.
But in the same breath, I will say that we are very good at hurry up and waiting, because we will wake up and get to the place where we got to get at like 6 a.m. or whatever, just to find out that we're going to leave at 9 that morning. So we're waiting around for 3 hours, and we're really good at waiting or standing 4-hour watches. But in the civilian world, it doesn't it doesn't transpire.
I tell you what, especially Marines, they'll wait in a line for anything.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
they'll wait in a line. They'll just see a line. They'll just wait in. I know what the hell is at the end of the line. They'll wait there.
Exactly. Celeste, the best way I can put that in layman's terms for you is just imagine your longest day at the DMV, but it's the most important thing in the world you have to do.
Right.
That's how it equates.
Exactly. That's a good analogy.
I have to ask, are there certain branches that pick on other ones more than other branches, or because
everybody picks on the Marines?
Everybody picks on the Marines, but I think it's a joint effort against the Air Force.
Oh yeah. We'll all team up on the Air Force. All three other forces.
And the sad part is, a lot of us really wish we had gone to the Air Force.
Yeah, definitely.
Funny thing, because the Marines are a department of the Navy. They were created to be our infantry. And so I always tell everybody when they ask, well, what's the difference? And I say, you have a little brother or a little sister? And they'll say, yeah. Well, you know how your mom told you to take them to the movies? That's how the Navy feels when we have to take them on deployment. Your stinky little brothers.
But I gotta be kind of nice to Marines. I gotta be kind of nice to Marines because we're renting this house from a Marine.
Yeah.
So I don't want to kick me out after this.
I know.
Nah, he's a good dude. I've worked with Marines, and most of the time I love them to death. They're good guys. They're doing the same thing we are, just doing a little different. And they eat more crayons than we do. So
okay, what is up with that? What is up with that crayon thing?
Marines are nuts. I would say that, but here's the thing about it though. Like, as crazy as Marines are and stuff like that, they're usually one of the best friends you could ever have.
Definitely, 100%.
Loyal.
Yeah,
100% loyal.
They are definitely, and we got some Marine friends that have a t-shirt company, and they are the greatest. They're not in the Marines anymore. They got out, but once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah.
So they're a great couple guys. They're great dudes, and they're I consider them a good friend of mine, honestly. So.
Is there one branch of the military that's? I mean, I don't know if y'all would know. Is there one branch that people are drawn to more than others? I don't know what the statistics are.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ron.
I was about to say, I think it's the Army, the Army, I think it's Army. Then second place is Navy.
Right. I think it's the Army because there's so many recruiters out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the Navy has one boot camp. I think the Marine has one or two. The Army's got several because there's so many people that join it. They can't put them all in one place. And we have one, Great Lakes, Illinois, and that's the only place people go to boot camp. And I think
wait. The other three are gone.
What do you mean? No, they're not. Yeah, it's just Great Lakes. There's San Diego.
One in Florida. Yep, that's gone.
Like, I came in 96 when there was only one.
I went to Orlando.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're gone now. It's just Great Lakes now.
Wow.
It's been like that over 20 years. They must have changed that because it was only one when I came in.
I was in one. I know for sure Orlando was closing down because I remember them telling me like I was in probably not the last, but I think like the next to the last RTC. Like I mean like the A school's still there as far as I know, but
Nuke school, Nuke A school.
Yeah, but the boot camp is gone.
Yeah, definitely. It's been gone for a long time.
I would say as a recruiter, the reason we always joke about this. So they have Army has way more recruiters, like you said. They have better water bottles, better pens, better pop sockets, better, like bouncy balls and stuff. And we're like,
Better
hey,
swag.
do you want a sticker? Or they even had mask when, Army mask. And we're like, dang. So we've got stickers. Why? Because we've got the better product. I'm biased, of course, but we've got the better product. But they have to have nicer water bottles to get.
They have the better swag. They have the better swag.
They do.
Now
They do.
Now that you said that about the masks, I'm gonna have to like stroll up into a freaking we got a recruiting station we got a recruiting station for it's Army, Air Force, and Navy. It's not too far from Fort Eustis, but they're all right in the same little building and everything, right? And now you said that about the masks. I'm gonna have to like stroll up in there, acting like I'm picking up some. Like I'm picking up some paperwork, some literature for like my nephew or somebody. See what happens. Oh, that's the other thing. That's the other thing too. Like military knows military. Like I've been spotted so many times as ex-military, even though like if you look at me, I do not look military. I think a lot of people say it's the walk for me.
The swag, the swagger.
The sailor swagger.
The sailor swagger.
The closest I've been personally military is marching band in high school.
It's pretty legit though.
Yeah. I think it's based off military because you have the drum major and they're yelling at you and you have to be in step and you have section leaders. Oh, and if you get out of step and you're walking to lunch, they're going to make you turn right around and start all over and everybody's going to suffer for it.
I think
that's exactly what it's
I think if
like.
anytime you're getting your ass chewed in anything, it's based from the military. It started the boot camp.
Or band.
Or band, yeah.
Oh man, but I wasn't as brave with my flute as you all probably have been with other things in your life.
I played the flute too. I was in the marching band.
Oh.
Yeah, I was also woodwinds in the marching band.
Oh, nice.
I did a lot when I was in high school. Like I was old. Well, what happened is my last 2 years of high school. Remember, I'm a military dependent. Like growing up and stuff like that. I went to 6 different high schools growing up because that's just the Army lifestyle. Like you wind up moving all the time and stuff like that. So I wound up falling into the marching band because like the last school I wound up at did not have ROTC.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
you had to do something extracurricular.
Yeah, so I had to do something, and now that I think about it, like I had to find something that was regimented, like the military, like
right,
ROTC.
yeah, because our son's in ROTC here.
Yeah, now he's just banned.
He's banned now, but he did 3 years.
His senior year.
Yeah, he did 3 years ROTC.
Oh, that's awesome. So he'll have a lot of discipline when he gets out into the world.
Oh, yeah, sounds like he's gonna be a sailor. Just that's
yeah. But we're pushing him for officer. We're like go.
I'm like it took me 20 years to get paid like a lieutenant. That's been in 6 years. So
yeah.
LeRon triggered a question that I hadn't written down for y'all, but I hear a lot about how military spouses, the civilian spouse, cannot hold down a job. Like my cousin who's married to someone in the Coast Guard, it's been kind of difficult because she wanted to be a teacher and she could only teach for so long and they couldn't really set up their roots. They lived in North Carolina, they lived in Pass Christian, Mississippi, now they're back in Louisiana. And I wonder what it's like when you have dual military. Both spouses are in the military. What is that like? How do you adjust your goals and are you assigned to the same area? Like what do you do if you're assigned to a different part of the country? How does that work?
Well, the Navy has really come a long way with dual military. Probably a lot since you were in, LeRon. I mean, a lot since I've in the last 10 years. So they do their best to co-locate dual military couples. Mm-hmm. They do their best to get them in the same geographical area so they could either like live in a central spot and then commute to work either way or whatever they need to do. They cannot be stationed usually at the same command, but if they have the option of a different command in the same geographical location, they'll definitely try to do that for them. Mm-hmm. As far as goals go, this is how I looked at it. When I met Jamie, she was still had her goals, and she's younger than I am, so she still has her goals. And I pretty much I've got more than I thought I'd ever get. Honestly, I thought I'd be an E5. I thought I'd get out or retire or get forced out as an E5. So being an E8, I've done better than I thought I'd be. So if it comes to me chasing mine or her getting hers, I would choose her over mine any day of the week just because it's her turn.
Yeah. By the
And
way,
you got to have that.
By the way, congrats on making senior chief. Congrats.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate
congrats. It. That's awesome.
And it's her turn to make chief and to make senior chief and to make master chief. I did it because I've been in the Navy 10 years longer than her. So it's her turn now.
Jamie,
so whatever I can do to support.
Jamie, you're on the path. You're a recruiter right now. Like, I mean, that's setting you up right there.
I hope so. We'll see how it all goes, how it all turns out. But at the end of the day, I said this before, we get 20 years. We get 20 years to make an impact on our Navy, on our sailors, and every life that we touch. And so if I hit my 20 and all I've done is they remember my name, or someone goes higher and becomes a great leader because of something I said, then I'll be happy with that.
That's kind of how we are with our podcast. As long as we can help one person out, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like to help the stigma. If one person doesn't go down that dark path because of something they heard, hey, we did it. I don't care if only 2 people listen to it. If it helped one person out, I'm happy.
Have you received a lot of feedback or any kind of reception for your podcast since you started it?
Kind of. We're kind of known as the mental awareness podcast now since that mental health podcast. We're not a mental health podcast, but we're glad to do a part on it. But I would do more. But if we go that way, that's great because
I think that a lot of people want to speak on that, and I think that it's maybe our place to amplify that, and continue to bring stories and continue, maybe not focus on it, maybe not do the series on it, but continue to speak on it and to figure out this problem, because we've already discovered by talking to several veterans that some things need to change with the VA. When you come back from deployment, there's stations that you have to go to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and the last one is the psychologist. That's like, hey, are you feeling this way? Are you feeling down? Are you feeling that? And that's the guy that's between you and your family that you haven't seen for months and months and months or a year.
So what is anybody going to say? I'm good.
I'm fine. Let me go home. I'm fine. So we've already discovered that probably should be after you get home, that evaluation, So hopefully through this podcast, we can start breaking it down and being like, okay, maybe we can actually change some of the policies,
Right. Because that's a shit show if you're between somebody, like one guy's keeping you from seeing your family or your loved ones you hadn't seen in forever.
Yeah.
In months, you're going to tell him what he wants to hear to get you past him.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really, I don't think, and I'm not an expert by any stretch of imagination, but I don't think you would really get your mental health issues until you got to some normalcy. So you got some normality where you got to normal life. And then you would be like, hey, damn, I'm pissed off all the time. Damn, my kids drive me freaking crazy and they're not doing anything wrong. Something like that would make you realize, trigger you, look, I'm not right. But now they've already told the dude they're good. They go back, oh, you were good 2 months ago. Why ain't you good now? We try to get that money, try to get that VA money, huh, dog? And it shouldn't be that way. It should be like, come here, let me help you.
Yeah.
That's really a shame. I like a lot of military books and poetry. I remember in school, I have an English degree, and we did. I took a modern poetry class, and we read one. I think his name is Robert Graves. He has Dulce et Decorum Est. Have y'all ever read that poem?
No, I haven't.
It's he's a World War I poet, and he's talking about what it's like in the trenches with mustard gas and just the trauma that he experienced and what he saw. And oh my goodness, it's hell. War is hell. And I also like the book, The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. He's a Vietnam veteran. I don't know if y'all ever
I've heard that. I've heard the title. Mm-hmm.
Are there any military related books, movies, anything, any kind of media that you like in particular?
I mean, I liked American Sniper. I don't know how true that is to story, but I know Clint Eastwood usually tries to keep it true to life. And it comes from a novel, right? I think it comes from a book. I thought that was a real good movie. It really opened up PTSD to me. because the guy was a decorated war hero, Chris Kyle from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And he would forget where he was at and go to the bar and not go home. I mean, things like that really screwed his head up. And he did get better. Unfortunately, he was killed by another guy with mental issues. But that really opened my eyes to mental health. Like, really, it gets that bad? I'd never heard of that when I came until I watched the movie. It gets that. That's one movie I can think of. It's hard for me to really get into Hollywood because I don't know how much they Hollywooded up. You know.
Yeah, a movie that sticks out for me is The Hurt Locker.
Oh, that's a good one.
Patty Jenkins directed that one, so like if you want to see what she was doing before she was directing Wonder Woman, check that out. It's also like a biography, like a pseudo biography, because it follows some real events. Anthony Mackie's in it, and I can't remember who else was in it, but it's a good movie, and that's another one like that. Jarhead talks about the movie Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal. Talks about PTSD, talks about the strain of it. I mean, and this is going past the classics, because like Full Metal Jacket is a classic, and if you're not paying attention, that movie is like front and center about PTSD and mental issues going on.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Y'all are gonna laugh when I tell you what movie sticks out for me.
Let's hear it.
Battleship.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you why. Because towards the end, when they're talking to the old sailors, the old salts that are on the ship,
Missouri.
Yeah, and they're like, listen, you've already done so much for your country, and I have no right to ask this of you, but would you help us? And they were like, yeah, we'll do it. And I was like, that's the fighting spirit of the sailor.
Yes.
That is the epitome of the fighting spirit of the sailor, who's already beat down and worn down and done so much. But if you ask us, we'll be there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, like I get misty eyed with a lot of like military TV and movies and stuff like that. Like especially the ones of the Navy, because I didn't realize how much I was actually going to miss the uniform until I actually like said I'm out. and then like 2 months later, I was like, man, what have I done? and then it was a point of pride. And I'm like, okay, I said I'm getting out. Like I need to stay out, because this is the hill I'm going to die on and stuff like that. But there are days like, I wake up and people have asked me this, like, what's the one thing you miss about the military the most? And I'm like, well, if you look at a guy like me, I miss the uniform the most.
It's weird. You're right, man, because I remember I'm going from the ship to the shore duty, living that good life, that shore duty life, that nice, 8 to 4 stuff. And I'm driving home. Damn, I missed the ship. Why would you miss that shit?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Right?
But you miss it. You miss
because you only remember the good times.
You remember the good times. It wasn't awful. You learned your rate. You learned your job on the ship. That's where I learned my job.
It got kind of awful. It got kind of awful when they put us down on 3-section duty. It got kind of awful.
You're eating rice every damn day. But I missed it when I was on shore duty. I was like, damn, I can't wait to go back to the ship. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, your mind and you're nuts. Sailors are nuts. If they miss that, they're nuts. There's no reason a normal person would miss that.
You got too much salt in your veins. That's what it is.
Help it. I got to flick it off my shoulder. It's so much salt.
That's dandruff. That's not
sorry.
That's amazing. What are the most rewarding aspects of being in the United States Navy?
Well, for me, it's being part of something that's bigger than you. You're doing something, and you're doing the work of the American people. American people trust you in that position, and they don't have a choice. You join, right? But really, they pay your bills. They give you a paycheck, and then doing something that's so big that it's bigger than anything else you could ever do. It ain't always about the money. It ain't always about the glory. It's about keeping. And honestly, it sounds poetic or whatever, but it's keeping your fellow Americans safe. Mm-hmm. And the littlest thing is turning a wrench. Does that, and it don't have to be a lot, just a little bit, and that that's what kept me in for 25 years. That and the camaraderie.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say is the camaraderie. My most favorite thing about the Navy and being in the Navy is that through the suck, we will find a way to make it fun. So
Yeah.
let's say it's
Yes.
midnight and you're swabbing the deck and you're buffing the floor. Somebody will turn on some music and turn their hat backwards and start dancing or doing something.
And it's a party, and
it's
next
a
thing you know,
party.
the job is done.
Yes. And sailors are so good at finding a way to embrace, like you say, embrace the suck, or I think
Yeah.
TV
Yeah.
says that, right? Embrace the suck, but just making it fun. And those are the memories. That's why does it suck? Yes, absolutely. Who wants to be swapping a deck at midnight? But it's fun.
What about you, LeRon? What were your favorite aspects?
It's also the camaraderie, because like as an Army brat that went in, like I'd already done the traveling and stuff, so Navy for me was just more opportunities to travel and stuff like that. I got to see some wonderful places and stuff like that, but it's the camaraderie. And what sucks for me is like I was only in for 6 years, so like I made like a set group of friends, and thank God for Facebook and social media and stuff like that. Like a lot of people from my old command actually found me, and we've been able to catch up, keep in contact. We've learned about fellow sailors in the division who passed away and stuff like that, but we've also learned about triumphs and all the things like who's had babies, who's had grandchildren, stuff like that. It's the camaraderie for sure. And for somebody like me, who there was a point when, for moving around all the time as an Army brat and stuff, like I got to the point where I didn't want to go out and make new friends and stuff like that, but it completely 180'd as soon as I joined the military. Like he was like, oh yeah, make friends, make memories and stuff like that, make connections and things like that. So definitely the camaraderie. And just like Jamie said, hey, we will find any way to make a situation fun, even when it's the world's worst situation and things like that. And we've had some stuff happen on the WASP. We've had sewage pipes break, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not a damage control technician, but guess what? I'm an engineer, I'm an electrician and stuff like that. Guess who's got to get a bucket and put on some gloves.
Embrace the suck.
Oh.
Yeah, but we fought. I remember, there've been some times where it was some serious grunt work, and we found a way to make it fun. And our senior chief catches us and is like, "What are you guys doing? Are you getting the job done?" And we're like, "Yes, senior chief." And he would walk away. He's like, "If I come back and it's not right, that's everybody." And there's so many memories and things like that. But number one thing about the memories, though, there's always friends and comrades with you.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That's so sweet. I love it. Well, what are some of the future plans for your podcast? You mentioned you might go on more about the mental health issues that a lot of sailors deal with, but are there any other future episodes you'd like to talk about, or future topics or anything?
Yeah, so we just started season 3 and we're really excited. We are doing more collaborations. So we had a sailor from Hermes Oslander from the Scuttlebutt podcast. He drew our cover art, and he's an artist and a sailor. And then we have some t-shirts that we're doing, and another sailor makes t-shirts. So we're collaborating with him to produce those t-shirts for our merch. And the cool thing about season 3 that we want to bring to light is highlighting and researching, maybe telling history or on the Navy trivia. So we just recently highlighted Dave Cooper, which was a Navy SEAL for SEAL Team 6, and kind of told his backstory before they went and attacked or killed bin Laden. And so we want to do that and bring that into the naval history. There's so many different things that derive from the Navy, like son of a gun or
The whole
the
9
whole
yards.
9 yards.
Mhm.
And those sayings actually come from the Navy. So we want to dig down and research those and really get those out there for common knowledge to our listeners.
Yeah, and we're starting a new series soon.
Oh,
it's
that's
called The Charge of Leadership,
Mhm.
about struggles with leadership, the the good things, the bad things that come with leading sailors or leading anybody, not just sailors, leading anybody. Because I plan on getting hopefully get some other services besides Navy on, just to tell their story.
A lot of times people, they don't show it, but being a leader is hard. And figuring out, an admiral told me this one time that I worked for, sometimes it's figuring out where to poke the balloon so you get the least amount of impact.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, that's great.
And in my opinion, good leaders could be getting their, pardon my French, ass chewed from the above, but their people don't know it.
They never know it.
And I've had a lot of people like that. I know they were getting the business above them, but I never knew it as a young guy in the Navy. So I want to highlight people that I think represent that and let them tell their story. And we'll go from there.
That's awesome. And so speaking of trivia, so would the highest rank for military, like would your biggest boss, that would be the President of the United States, since she is the Commander-in-Chief?
Yes.
Technically?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so we've asked, President Biden to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
We're still waiting.
We're waiting on
back.
That's awesome.
No, I'm just joking.
That would be awesome.
Oh man, that would be so cool. And so then after the President of the United States, would it then be like the Vice President would be the?
Well, so for the Navy, so each branch has their own head. So
Yeah.
we all have the President,
The
Vice
SecDef.
President, and the Secretary of Defense, right? But then we have
SecNav.
our CNO, Chief of Naval Operations.
SecNav first, right?
Oh, Secretary of the Navy.
Yeah.
And then our CNO,
Chief
which
of
is
Naval
Chief of Naval Operations, which is
The highest enlisted.
highest
highest officer
officer
in the Navy.
in the Navy.
Wow.
And then it goes down from there.
Thank God you didn't ask me that, Celeste, because I am so far removed from that.
Oh yeah, dude. When'd you get out, LeRon? Like 99?
98.
98, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a little while, huh?
I remember somebody named Rumsfeld.
Oh, holy cow.
I've heard that name before. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, is there any trivia you'd like to share with listeners? Like, what are some things people might be interested in knowing about the Navy?
This is one of the fun things that I like to share when I go out on my little recruiting adventures, right? But tattoos are a big part of our culture in the Navy because we actually came from pirates. So we've carried that tattoo culture all the way down. But one of the cool tattoos that sailors used to like to get, and some of the newer sailors are getting it, is a pig on their foot and a rooster or a chicken on their other ankle or foot. And it basically is back in the days, wooden ships, right? Way back when they actually carried chickens and pigs and livestock in these crates. So when the ships would sink and they would break apart, the crates would float like in Madagascar. And so they didn't sink, the chickens and the rooster. So sailors,
and the pigs.
Yeah, they believed if they tattooed the pigs and rooster on each foot, then they could not sink. So that's cool.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And yeah, I see a lot of sailors through my career that had the tattoos.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna say like something about there's a cock behind the knee. I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
The animal, right?
Yeah. The animal. LeBron's his head's in the gutter right now.
I didn't even think about that.
Have you guys listened to any episodes of the Crossroads podcast? You kind of know where I kind of go sometimes.
I have a boss rush after dark. Seriously, no
I thought you and I were supposed to host the next one, Celeste.
Flash.
Is that the raunchy one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the.
Come on, we welcome any and all. If I can handle.
Oh, we'll talk some shit.
If I can handle the Bad Bitches podcast, I can handle anything. But How can people support you? Do you have a Patreon? Or do you have anything else, another way that people can support you?
We don't have a Patreon because I'm like, look, I can barely get. I wouldn't want to pay to see me, so why would I ask other people?
Why would we make other
people pay to watch us or hear us? But we do have Sailor Swagger.
Yeah, SailorSwagger.com. Those are our T-shirts, our merch.
Yep.
Yes, I saw that.
And we have everything that you buy or every shirt you buy, we donate a shirt to the Chaplain Corps. So we have some hold fast shirts that we actually donate out so that you can, just remind a sailor like, hey, hold fast. Right. So on the Hold Fast initiative, you hit us up on our Facebook. Mm-hmm. And like, I would like a shirt, give us address. It's $30 including shipping, $30 per shirt. And you get your shirt, then we donate a shirt to the Chaplain Corps so they can make sure some sailors out to sea get a Hold Fast shirt. Cause it's been hard with this COVID. It's been hard, man. These guys are getting quarantined from their families prior to deploying. So they quarantine their families 2 weeks prior to deploying for 6 months at least. So, back. And then when they get back, they got to ROM sometimes for 14 days before they see their family. So there's a lot of sailors out there that's getting put through the ringer that's deploying, and it's sad, but I get it's necessary to continue the mission, but it doesn't change the fact that people are suffering to keep Americans safe. Mm-hmm. It's still a heavy load.
Yeah, it's crazy because like the resiliency episode you guys had with Command Master Chief Gonzalez, y'all hit the nail on the head about all that stuff dealing with COVID and things, and still having to come in, do the job, like make sure it gets done, things like that, make sure home and country stays safe, and make sure the mission is on point. That was a wonderful episode that I heard.
He was great. So he was great. He made me want to go fight Al Qaeda, man. I mean, he made me want to pack
I mean, dude. Yeah.
I mean, he could be he's like my sea daddy now. That dude is like legit.
I wish that man the best. God, he's
only been in the Navy a couple years longer than me.
Yeah.
Six fleet CMC. That's ridiculous. That's a big deal.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share either about the Navy or the E-14 podcast or yourselves?
Well, you can share where they could find us on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Twitter at E14 podcast. No, just E14 podcast. On Facebook, E14.
It's ETAC.
ETAC 14.
Or E-14.
ETAC or -14, like the rank podcast. And Instagram is E14 podcast. Yeah. Hit us up if we're looking for ideas. Let us know if anybody wants to talk to us. Let us know.
Yeah.
We don't really shoot down anybody.
No.
We'll pretty much take all comers as long as we can fit in our schedule. We're up to talk to anybody, especially if you got a good story to tell.
And if we could stop falling and getting concussions and stitches
that'd be even better. But I'll do it crippled. Yeah. I tell you what, the day after I got out of the hospital for a stroke, we did a recording episode.
That is
I don't give a shit. It don't take me no energy to sit here and talk. I mean, that's easy.
That's awesome. Thank you both, Jamie and Heath and LeRon, for being on this episode of 1v1. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love these. The time flies by. They're fun.
It does.
I love getting to know people better. And since you're in Louisiana, let me know if you're ever in my area or if I'm ever in your area.
Let us know. Hit us up.
I tell you what, like it looks like I'm going to hit you guys up while I'm on my way to go see Celeste.
Definitely.
Well, I'll just go to New Orleans and
there
hang out.
There you go. We'll hang out. Oh, and LeBron, I'll be in Portsmouth next month for a month. So maybe I'll hit you up, man. We can.
Oh yeah, hang out. Yeah. I got a buddy stationed at the Coast Guard station out there too. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I guess I'm actually going to a TBI clinic out there. So I'll be out there for a week. I mean, for a month.
That's that traumatic brain injury.
Yeah,
TBI.
I don't know. So
yeah. That's the one thing I never forgot any of the acronyms or any of the stuff. Like,
We have to be careful because we speak in acronyms all the time.
Yeah,
that's understandable.
Yeah,
it's easier.
I accidentally told my mom one time because she was asking like what was going on, and I was like, don't worry about it. We're Oscar Mike right now, and she's like, what? That's short for we're on the move.
Yeah. What's going on? It's a Charlie Foxtrot.
That's fun. I love
Hey,
it.
but thanks for reaching out, Celeste. I appreciate it, man. It's been
We've
fun.
had such a great
It's no
evening.
problem. And what about you, LeRon? Where can people find you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you can find me on social media, Exodus803, EXODUS803. There's my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Exodus803, where Tuesday nights I'm hosting the Crossroads podcast for Boss Rush Games. And also, yeah, like that's my gamer tag and all that stuff. So yeah, like you look EXODUS803 up and you'll find me.
Very nice.
Cool. Awesome.
And you can find me on Twitter at Fairy Crypt. I have the 1v1 podcast, and I'm also with Talk the Walk with our own Eddie V, where we talk about walking simulators, one of my favorite game genres. So thank you all so much for listening. Please check out Boss Rush Games, where we have a network of different shows. And thank you all so much for being here. We'll talk to you later.
Our pleasure. Bye-bye.
All right.